That was Republican Senator Mitch McConnell responding to Senator Harry Reid's suggestion that a deficit reduction plan should include more government spending and tax hikes. Now, this is part of why Eric Cantor walked out of deficit reduction talks with Democrats, a move that comes as we got more bad news on the jobs front, with unemployment figures coming in much worse than expected. And, of course, yesterday we had Ben Bernanke essentially throwing up his hands and saying he doesn't know why this stimulus isn't working. Now, the market clearly doesn't like this kind of action, nor do our next guest, Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, and by phone, small business owner Jerry Halterman, who just met with the congressman and is one of his constituents. So, Congressman, first of all, this notion that in a deficit reduction bill you spend more money is, I mean, I have to go with Mitch McConnell on this one. How does the math of that work?
You know, it's the only kind of wisdom that you would get out of Washington, D.C. You got to spend more, you got to tax more, you got to borrow more to be prosperous. It's been 2.5 years, or, you know, a little over 2 years since we passed a stimulus. It hasn't worked. Now they're talking about another stimulus, more and more spending. At some point, you have to look at the facts. And we have to have a fact-based conversation. The truth of the matter is Washington hasn't been telling you the truth. It's time to get government out of the way of businesses, out of the way of small business, and let them prosper, because what we're doing out here just isn't doing the job.
Well, and, you know, some people might think, look, this is just you, a Republican, saying it's a stimulus. But even the Democrats are calling this thing they want to add into the deficit reduction package a stimulus. Senator Schumer, Chuck Schumer, Democrat from New York, said this is a stimulus package. Let's say it costs $50 billion or $100 billion. We're going to have to make that up to keep with the president's goal of a $4 trillion in deficit reduction over 10 years. So even they are calling it a stimulus package, the assumption being that the other stimulus package worked fine.
Well, if billions of dollars spending is supposed to reduce the deficit, why don't we just spend $8 trillion or $20 trillion and just eliminate the deficit? I mean, that kind of logic is what's being used here, and it doesn't make any sense. So, again, I don't know. Look, I have no doubt that my friends on the other side of the aisle, you know, mean well, but they see it incorrectly. You can't tax, borrow, and spend your way to prosperity anymore.
All right, let's talk to Jerry, who is a businessman who met with the congressman recently. Jerry, what do you think is needed here? What should Congress be doing right now?
Well, I've been in business now. We're looking at 40 years, and I myself lack confidence. I'm a little bit nervous to expand my business and to hire. I'm almost scared to hire people. Our small business growth is being held back by bad policies and too much government. I'd like to run my private business privately, get the government out of my face, stay away, and let me get out of here on my own. I want to be competitive with my competition, Jerry, not with the government.
Let me just ask specifically, what is it of all the new rules and regulations that we've seen that have been implemented, from the EPA to OSHA to what's coming with Obamacare, what is it that bothers you the most, that prevents you from expanding and hiring?
I'm worried about if I hire someone today at $15 to $16 an hour, will the government tell me I've got to pay him $25 an hour later on? A new rule will come out. I worry about the 35% corporate tax rate in this country. It's just the uncertainty of the whole thing. We're not investing in ourselves anymore.
So, Congressman, how do you reinstate that sense of certainty in the minds of business?
You know, Jerry is saying what I hear from literally almost every small business owner. And so at some point out here, Washington, D.C.'s got to listen to Main Street. So how do you restore it? Look, here's a very profound statement. Washington, D.C. does not create jobs. We can create an environment for job creation, but this idea that there's going to be a magic bill that we pass that just magically creates jobs doesn't exist. We have got to pull government back out of the way of the entrepreneur. We've got to give people like Jerry that confidence to say, you know what, this health care bill, this Obamacare bill is not going to hamstring my company. I do believe that we're going to get our debt in order, so I am comfortable investing 10 years in the future. Yeah. Just quickly, when you buy a house, you look at a 30-year loan, let's say, and you say, I want to make sure I have income in 30 years to pay for this. Right now, small business owners aren't confident that they're going to have income in the future, so they're not investing.
All right, very quickly, Congressman, Eric Cantor pulled out of the negotiation because they wanted to add stuff into the deficit reduction. What about Boehner? What about your House leader, John Boehner?
Well, you know what? He's got a big job ahead of him. Look, again, we're fighting against this tax, borrow, and spend philosophy. If we're going to raise the debt ceiling, we have got to have structural major changes, and I'm not hearing that's on the table. So I'll tell you what, the next month or 2 months of what's going to happen, frankly, your guess is as good as mine, but we have to stand for responsible government, and that's what we're doing.
Do you have to choose between Boehner and Cantor or not?
No, I don't think there's any. I think we're all working together out here to say we want the best government for the American people that we can have.
Congressman Adam Kinzinger and Jerry Halterman, to both of you, I say thank you. And it is time for you to weigh in. Selling our oil. Is that strategy a buy, sell, or hold? Text